Hello, everyone. Welcome to our exciting journey through time in Chapter 2, Timelines. Today, we're going to learn all about how we measure days, weeks, months, and years. We'll explore different calendars, understand what timelines are, and find out about the special terms historians use to mark events in the past. Get ready to become time travelers. In this chapter, we're going to learn about four main things. First, we'll dive into the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar you probably use every day. Second, we'll discover the Saka calendar, which is very important in India. Third, we'll explore timelines, which are like maps for history. And finally, we'll understand the special terms CE and BCE that historians use to talk about time. Here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that the word calendar comes from the Latin word calende, which was the first day of the month in the Roman calendar? Interesting, right? Let's start with the Gregorian calendar. This is the calendar you see almost everywhere in the world. It's also known as the Western or Christian calendar because it was first used in Europe. It's a solar calendar, which means it's based on how long it takes for our Earth to travel all the way around the sun, which is about 365 days. The year is divided into 12 months. Most months have 30 or 31 days, but February is a bit special, usually having only 28 days. But every 4 years, February gets an extra day, making it 29 days long. That year is called a leap year, and it has 366 days in total. This extra day helps keep our calendar perfectly aligned with the Earth's journey around the sun. Here's a cool fact. The Gregorian calendar was introduced by Pope Gregory XIII way back in 1582. He created it to fix some small errors that had built up over time in the older Julian calendar. Now let's learn about the Saka calendar. This is very important because it's the Indian national calendar. In India, people use both the Saka calendar and the Gregorian calendar. A fascinating thing about the Saka calendar is that it starts 78 years after the Gregorian calendar. This means if you want to find out what year it is in the Saka calendar for a Gregorian year, you just subtract 78. For example, if it's 2024 in the Gregorian calendar, it's 1946 in the Saka calendar. The very first month of the Saka calendar is called Chaitra. The first day of Chaitra usually falls on the 21st or 22nd of March, according to the Gregorian calendar. Did you know that the Saka calendar was officially adopted as the national calendar of India on March 22nd, 1957? That's quite recent in history. Let's compare the Gregorian and Saka calendars to see what's similar and what's different. They have a lot in common. Both are solar calendars, meaning they're based on the Earth's orbit around the sun. They both have 12 months in a year. And both calendars have 365 days in a normal year and 366 days in a leap year. So in terms of structure and how they measure the solar year, they are quite similar. Now for the differences. The Gregorian calendar starts its year with the month of January, but the Saka calendar starts with Chaitra, which actually falls in the month of March in the Gregorian calendar. The biggest difference is their starting point in history. The Saka calendar begins 78 years after the Gregorian calendar. This means a date in the Saka calendar is always 78 years less than the Gregorian calendar date. Here's another fun fact. Did you know that many ancient civilizations, like the Egyptians and Mayans, developed their own calendars based on observing the sun, moon, and stars? This shows how incredibly important it was for them to track time for things like planting crops and celebrating festivals. Now, let's talk about timelines, which are like maps that show us how events happened in history. Timelines are incredibly important because they tell us the exact order in which different things occurred in the past. On a timeline, events are always arranged, starting with the earliest event and moving towards the latest one. Imagine a straight line. The central point on this line is usually marked as 0, which represents the year Jesus Christ was born. This system of counting years was first used in Europe. Remember, a century is a period of 100 years. So, when we say the year 2000 was the beginning of the 21st century, it means 20 centuries had passed since year 0, and we were starting the 21st block of 100 years. Here's an amazing fact. The oldest known timeline might actually be a cave painting from more than 10,000 years ago. It's thought to show important astronomical events observed by early humans. Let's understand the special terms we use for dating historical events. Historically, in Europe, dates were counted from the birth of Jesus Christ. The years after his birth were called Anno Domini, or AD, which means the year of the Lord in Latin. For the time before Jesus Christ was born, historians used before Christ, or BC. However, as the Gregorian calendar became popular all over the world, it was adopted by many different cultures and religions. To make the dating system more universal and to remove the religious association, the terms were changed. AD was replaced by CE, which stands for Common Era, and BC was replaced by BCE, which means before the Common Era. So, CE and BCE refer to the exact same periods as AD and BC, but they use terms that are widely accepted by everyone, regardless of their religious beliefs. For example, dinosaurs lived in BCE, while India gained independence in CE. It's interesting to know that the idea of using a common era dating system actually started gaining popularity as far back as the 17th century, though it took quite a while for it to become as widely used as it is today. Calendars aren't just for history. They also help us remember important dates for our planet. These green Earth dates help us raise awareness and celebrate efforts to protect our environment. For example, February 2nd is World Wetlands Day, March 21st is World Forestry Day, and March 22nd is World Water Day. We celebrate World Earth Day on April 22nd, World Environment Day on June 5th, and World Ozone Day on September 16th. These days remind us to care for our Earth. Here's a special green Earth fact. The very first Earth Day was celebrated on April 22nd, 1970. It was a huge event that really helped to start the modern environmental movement and make people more aware of environmental issues. So, what have we learned today? We've explored how we measure time using different calendars. The Gregorian calendar is the most common worldwide, a solar calendar with 365 days, adding a leap day every 4 years. We also learned about the Saka calendar, India's national calendar, which is also solar, but starts 78 years after the Gregorian. We discovered that timelines are like history's maps, showing events in the exact order they happened. And finally, we understood that CE and BCE are the modern, inclusive terms used to mark historical periods, replacing AD and BC. You're now time experts. And for one last thought, the idea of time itself is a huge mystery. Scientists and philosophers are still trying to understand if time is a fundamental part of the universe, or if it's just how we humans perceive changes happening around us. Isn't that fascinating? Great job, everyone! You successfully navigated the timelines of history and calendars. Keep exploring, and remember how important it is to understand the past to make sense of our present and future. See you in the next chapter.